I am still disastrously ill, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean I'm not covering anything because I want to talk about a game that's coming out later on this month called Operation Serpens. A game that luckily isn't as intense as perhaps a couple that are coming out this month like Dead Hook, but that doesn't mean that Operation Serpens is any less fun. This is post-editing jammy, by the way, adding a little note in here. The game is also fully playable co-op, which I know is very important to some people. It's important to me too, so I thought I'd jump in and let you know. It's all playable co-op, so yeah. Nah, I don't need no shield. This is by a solo developer and is essentially a military arcade shooter where you take on zombies and essentially terrorists, spanning from different locations with a bunch of different guns, with your generic wave shooter format, but with a couple of twists which I really do appreciate. First, let's talk the technical stuff. Visually, the game surprisingly looks pretty damn great. I know it has a very simplistic art style, it looks the same way in the headset, but the actual definition of lines on characters and on different objects are very, very clear, and the whole visual presentation is as good as it can be considering the art style for the solo dev, so I'm happy with how it looks, and it also runs at what feels like 120 on reprojected, meaning that it is, in fact, a very smooth feeling experience. If this game looked a bit blurry or ran a lot worse, say at 60 reprojected, I would not have a fun time with it at all, but the simplistic but satisfying gunplay and very easy to follow wave shooter level design is enhanced fairly well by the fact that the game looks sharp and plays incredibly smoothly. The dev has clearly put the work in to optimize this game and make it run well on the PSVR2. In terms of PSVR2 features though, it does not use adaptive triggers, at least the version that I'm playing, which I'm assuming is the release build, but it does make good use of haptics for hits and for gunshots when you're firing at enemies, and the weapons have decent kick to them in the controllers, so thumbs up in terms of haptic feedback. In terms of actual polish and animation and voice acting quality, I'd put this at the same par as, say, Cactus Cowboy, as some of those AI generated voices, although a lot of the people in this game are generally voiced by actual human beings. I don't know where those are from, but a lot of this is voice acted, but some of it, like the opening AI that tells you what to do, is voice acted by an AI, I'm fairly sure. All the guns have very simplistic reloads. It's either a button press or you bring it down to your waist to reload the gun, and then you're back into the action. There's a lot of weapon selection though. You've got shotguns, pistols, assault rifles, sniper rifles, the whole lot and what you'd expect. You've even got grenades and flashbangs, which I'll talk about in a second, which have an interesting twist to them. I do have to say though, the gunplay varies. The pistols and the shotguns feel really good and accurate to where you're pointing, but the assault rifles are slightly annoying to use because their spread is essentially a strafing motion up and down, which you can probably see in the background footage of this video. It's kind of hard to control and make sure it hits where you want it to hit, and I was better off just using the pistols and shotguns all the way through. This really is not the most accurate weapon in the world. As for the grenades though, normal grenades work how you'd expect. If you throw it, it makes a bang, it kills enemies in the surrounding radius. But flashbangs work a little bit differently. It does have the flashbang effect, but not for a very long time. But what it does do is initiate bullet time for 10 seconds, meaning that you're in slow motion, so you can take out a load of enemies in 10 seconds, clear an entire room, and it feels awesome when this happens. Okay, hang on.
Can you some help here?
So I can, oh fuck. I can throw a flashbang. Then we get bullet time, right?
Headshot. Headshot.
Cool. I got pretty excited every time the game threw a flashbang my way to use in the combat situations because it made me feel like a badass. It reminded me a lot of Super Hot and I really enjoyed those moments. You can use all these weapons against the enemies, against, I want to say 7 bosses. It might be a little bit more or less. And each of these bosses have a level dedicated to them. So you fight through the level and then you find the boss at the end and you take them on. However, each of these levels are actually pretty different and have different things to throw at you. Some of them might be on the back of a moving van where you have to take out cars and helicopters that are driving towards you with enemies on the back of them. There's a level that involves room clearing, which I really enjoyed, where there are actually explosives strapped to the walls, so if you miss a shot, you're punished by having to restart the level as you explode yourself by hitting these explosives. And there are also levels where you clear through an office building, you have to watch out for civilians that are running in the crossfire. Hello, civilians. What happens if I... Okay.
Headshot.
I have just killed a civilian. Some of the bosses themselves you need to actually take in rather than kill, so if you accidentally hit them with a stray bullet, you fail the mission. Each of these modifiers add a little bit of a twist to each level that you play, and I appreciate the variety. If it was just keep shooting until you win, which in some cases it is, it would become very, very stale very, very quickly. So I'm very glad the effort has been taken to spice up the missions with these little modifiers depending on which boss you're facing. The bosses themselves also have different weapons to fire at you and different conditions to fight in terms of where they spawn from and how they move. However, this is a wave shooter, so you are locked to a very small area that you can move around to dodge bullets and to take cover. Don't expect free locomotion in most of the levels, although there are a couple that do use it, so you'll probably be okay if you get motion sick because you're not moving around too much at all. There is options for snap turning and smooth turning, although the smooth turning is done in increments rather than exactly where you push or pull it on the stick. The guns in the game are also grip to hold, but you can turn on toggle, which is always appreciated. Thank you, solo developer, for incorporating those into the game. They're always helpful for players like me that don't really like holding down the button to hold your weapons. Finally, there is another mode as well against zombies. This will have you facing off against zombies that both shoot and crawl and run at you like normal zombies do. I played mostly the campaign in my time. I've had an hour or so to play through the game, and I did enjoy my time with it. For quite a cheap price, it's definitely worth picking up if you really like wave shooters and like those sort of arcade retro classic games. You're going to feel right at home here, and while it doesn't have the most in-depth VR mechanics throughout its entire playtime, I had a lot of fun with Operation Serpens, and it's a nice little humble start to February in terms of PSVR2 games. For me at least. The game itself comes out at the end of February, around the 23rd, so keep an eye open for it. It's quite nice, it's got a bit of distance from the opening clusterfuck of games. I have no other way of saying it really. That's what it is at the start of February. We have a load of games coming out on the 8th, which I'm very excited for, so look out for the coverage on those. But Operation Serpens, I really enjoyed my time with this one. It's definitely got its limitations, and it's for a very specific crowd of people. It's not going to appeal to everybody, and in some cases it is shallow, but all the systems here are robust, and I had a good time with it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm going to go in and rest my voice a little bit. As you probably heard, it's deteriorated throughout this video, even in the 10 minutes that it's taken to do the voiceover for this one. So thank you all for watching once again. If you did enjoy, feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.